So here I have my 6B and it's sharpened, and so now I'm going to get into this part a bit more. As I've already explained, I think I found that it's very important to go really dark in the corners of the mouth if there is a smile. And this is maybe just an indication of a smile, but you see how immediately it became brighter when I added just a bit more value to it. So now I'm going to try to emphasize this lip a bit. There, and this shadow right here. And I will darken the upper lip as well. Again, as I say, some of the things I do change the drawing very subtly, and you can see subtle changes both in the expression and in the degree to which the drawing resembles or matches the reference. I'm relatively happy with the likeness, resemblance here, so I'm going to relax and stop improving it because I do not really want perfect likeness. What I mean is I do not want to have a perfect match between the reference photo and the drawing, because I want the drawing to be somehow an enhanced version of this reference photo that I'm using. So you can see that when I emphasize this cheek line, she gets a more youthful look. And then if you have a reference photo like this, you can play with it and change the shading and maybe see how a child like this might look once she's older. If you, for example, reduce the roundness of her face, you might see what she might look as a teenager or even a young adult. And you can also try to experiment with that if you, for example, have a reference photo and you just spread out the features a bit more. If it's a reference photo of a child and you spread out the features, you will get maybe an insight into what that child might look older in future. I really don't see a problem with aging someone in a portrait, but I understand that's something that is not well received, although I mean you just get an insight into what the future might bring, and it's like a time travel, so I don't see a problem with that. What I'm not successful here is eliminating this effect of her looking like a character from a comic book, but I mean, that's what she looks like, and I have to deal with it. So it really depends on the type of paper you have, which pencil you might want to use, and some paper receives this 6B very well, and I can go very deep with 6B, but I think here I'll even have to go a bit with 8B if I want to have really dark black parts of this drawing. And I think this is quite important to have this. If you have hair falling on one side of the face, then going really dark here, giving it a lot of contrast and value, will really add depth to this drawing and give it a bit of third dimension, which I'll try also to get with more shading on the face, but that's going to really pop out well if we add this really dark part, the hair, because even if the hair is relatively light, as it is in this case, it would be in shade here on the side of the face. So I do not know whether you've noticed specific mistakes that I've made, or specific parts in which my drawing differs from the reference. I mean, it's always good to have more than one pair of eyes looking at it, and I would certainly appreciate if you tell me about it in the comments. So let me do this also. As I said, I'm really not feeling like going into the hair to that level of detail. I'd rather just do it quickly without recording myself, but I might try to do at least a bit so that you can at least see how some contrast here in the hair really brings out the face. So she's keeping her hair long because she needs to make these buns for ballet class, and so her hair is really uneven in length, but it's straight, and so it's much easier to draw than curly hair. She doesn't really have any specific hairdo, and she likes to let it just hang, and I don't mind. my mother was really into children having made hairstyles, and being neat was a big deal when I was growing up. You needed to be clean and never have any messy clothes, or God forbid stains, or having torn clothing. So neatness was a big deal, and so my mother insisted that my hair was always tied up, and I remember hating it. So now I guess the being neat is not as important. It just doesn't seem so. And when I see these commercials for laundry detergents where the women are making such a big deal about their children and husband looking impeccable, I just wonder, where do they live? I don't get the feeling that anybody's really paying much attention to that. At least not where I live. So, I guess this is as far as we'll go with the hair right now. I do not want this part to be overly boring, so I will finally leave the hair alone, and then I'll try to use this 6B to improve on the shading, which I think you will see as more interesting. So you can notice this part here, which I'm sort of unsuccessfully trying to copy here. I will now spend a bit more time on that. You see, I've noticed that it is a problem, so it's easy to delete what I've done so far. It's easy to erase that shadow and try again. It's also easy to sharpen this a bit more so that I can get this dark part of the eyebrow, which is going to be quite important for her expression. I think you can notice the subtle difference. Let me just make a short break here. I don't want this video to be too long. And then I'll see you in the next phase, where I think I'll be putting some finishing touches to this. Bye bye.